Control Tower, this is Flying Blind Podcast requesting permission for takeoff.
Copy. Can you confirm your flight path and destination?
Negative. I can't see shit, but we'll be right. We're just gonna wing it.
Rightio, welcome back to another episode of the Flying Blind Podcast, a podcast out there for everyone just winging it. But as always, even though we're winging it, it's all about knowing that we don't have to wing it alone. As always, proudly brought to you by On Track Meals. The meals that are Aussie-owned, Aussie-made, 3-year shelf life, do not need a fridge, and make sure to check them out. Fill your car with them next time you're going away and use the code FlyingBlind for 10% off at checkout. Now, today's episode, I have got sitting here next to me in the studio at home, which is not far from where she grew up, not far from where I grew up, even though you've come across from Adelaide today, mate, for not just for the catch-up, but to catch up with family, mates. Kirsty Lamb, AFLW player for Port Adelaide these days. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me here. What an honour to be sitting here next to you.
Mate, I'm pumped to have you on here and, pumped to have a chat and hear a little bit more about your story. I mean, for the two of us, we've sort of started the stories off together a long time ago, which was going to primary school together and playing footy and cricket, and then you sort of turned it into a career and I fucking didn't.
Don't know if you can say it like that, but...
Well, I mean, hey, losing your eyesight doesn't help with the whole sporting career, but I don't think it was going anyway.
You haven't let that stop you by any means.
No, exactly. But, mate, before we get started, I'll hand you one of these because I know that for footy, footy next week is starting...
Yes.
Starting next week?
Yep, we sure are. Well, there is a team starting this Sunday, but obviously not us. But yes, we are just over a week away from the first game. So nothing like a bit of water.
Yeah, that's it. Water
to
in a
keep
can.
you hydrated.
Born dry.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into this. I tell you what, I don't open a lot of cans in my life, do I?
Well, probably not during the season.
Not during the season.
No.
Let's give it a swig.
Give it a little swig. Check out that. It's a phenomenon drinking still water out of a can, but
not
it's
a bad drop.
Not a
fresh
bad,
as.
Not a bad drop at all.
Mate,
that
is beautiful.
It is good to have you here.
Fresh. That is.
What have you been up to? What's been happening?
Oh, what's been happening? A lot, and sometimes not a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously you've moved to Adelaide over the last couple of years to sort of, I guess, to change the direction a little bit of the footy world that I was going in. But living in Adelaide. Come back to Melbourne at some stage. We'll see what how that plays out and where that lands. But yeah, living the life of trying to play footy, but also still working. And that's something that I don't mind doing because it gives me a little bit of life balance. But yeah, studied for most of it, so I've got a heap of things between study, work, footy, and trying to live a social life. There's a little bit happening in there.
There's a hell of a lot happening in there, and we only caught up for dinner a few weeks ago in Adelaide when I was over there for work, and it just blew me away some of the stuff you were telling me about what is just involved in the day-to-day of your, so-called job with footy, and then job outside of that, and we'll get to all that. But I think let's take it right back. Tell us about growing up, mate, and how you got into doing what you're doing. Were you always from a tiny little kid going footy, cricket, that's where I want to go and that's what you loved? Or what was growing up like for you?
Yeah, well, obviously, as you know, growing up out in this area, when we grew up, it was pretty country. It's not so country now, but
no,
I guess
very developed now.
It's very developed now. I do miss the countryside. I remember growing up with no traffic lights. The corner of was Ironbark and Yan Yan Road, and I'm like, how did we live without traffic light there? But we did.
It's a good point.
Yeah, back in the day. But yeah, I guess obviously just growing up, like any sort of normal kid, you go to school and you learn all your sports at school, and eventually you kind of work out what it is that you like. And I liked everything. So I played it all until, footy, cricket, basketball and netball were my 4 sports growing up, trying to fit them all in.
Hang on, say that again. Footy, basketball,
cricket
and
netball.
netball. You really were doing it all.
Yeah, poor mum and dad had to, between me and my brother, have to drive us all over the joint to play all these sports. So, I guess, and then it's, as you sort of get a little bit older, you start to work out the sports that you sort of want to pursue a little bit more. And then before you know it, you pick a couple. And I obviously picked footy and cricket at a younger age. And it was purely just because I loved them more than the other two. And you get to a stage where you can't do them all.
Nah, 100%.
So something's got to drop.
I got to the exact same stage with footy, cricket, basketball, and I went the basketball route. But when you were growing up and playing footy and cricket, like netball, basketball, there was girls' teams, boys' teams.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the case for you growing up with like early stages. And when did that change? And what was that like for you, continuing to be for a lot of your sort of early junior sport, the only girl in the team?
Yeah, obviously growing up with footy and, to be fair, both cricket. For a lot of it was the only girl. Obviously with cricket, we sort of got to a couple of those years where there was a few girls playing at Yarrambat. But yeah, I guess with that footy pathway, it's so developed now, and I'm stoked to see where women's football and how there's so many junior girls teams at lots of clubs. So it's changed dramatically over the last, let's call it 11 years, I guess, since AFLW started. But yeah, growing up playing boys and then sort of getting to that age of, I think it was 13 or 14 when you get told, or a tap on the shoulder as a young kid going, actually you're not allowed to play footy with boys anymore. You've kind of hit that age bracket where it's not allowed anymore. And when you sort of, that's all you know, and all you want to do is keep playing, it was kind of a bit of I didn't understand. Like at that age, you don't kind of get it, because all you want to do is play footy. And I've played footy with the boys since, under 10s, and these are my mates, and I go to school with them, and why can't I just keep playing with them? Like who used to tell me that I can't keep playing?
Yeah,
when
100%.
That's all I know. And, I was going okay against the boys. Yes, they were getting a bit bigger and stronger than me and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, mate, you were still well and truly holding your own.
Well, I felt like I was, so I kind of didn't understand. And in sort of my last year, or maybe second last year, like I got invited to the Northern Nights or what was it back in the day? Was it Northern Nights? The tryout stuff. And
like your zone. Your zone step up.
And I got asked to go to that, and I did train. And again, it was all boys. And so even interesting that your league invites you to try out, but then they were unable to pick me because I was a girl.
Really?
Yeah. And so that just kind of, they were like, you would have been in our team, but we're not allowed to pick you because you're a girl. And it's just like, okay, cool.
But we'll waste your time and give you the opportunity to come and train.
Well, I loved it because it was the best of the best in the area training together. So it was awesome.
That's that step up that you're searching for.
Yeah. And
but
then
with a closed door at the end of it.
Yeah, we would love to pick you, but we're not allowed. And it's just like, oh, okay. So at that age, you get told that's it, footy for boys, that's it, that's done.
Yeah.
No more. And it's just like, well, at that age again, and my parents and stuff was like, well, is there girls teams out there? Is there a women's league? And so we've obviously gone on this pathway of, well, we've got to find a women's league. And then you find this beautiful world that we didn't know existed. That is a women's competition. That I didn't even know that Diamond Creek women's, again, at that age was a thing, because all I knew was junior boys footy.
Yeah.
And then, I go on this wonderful pathway of playing at Diamond Creek women's. And
so did you have to go from being told at 13, 14, you can't keep playing with the junior boys, to straight into adult women's?
Pretty
or was
much.
there a junior girls program somewhere else?
Yeah, so that was all very new, and I'm talking really new. So it was called Youth Girls, and I played.
Anyone from 6 years old to 18 who's a girl, you're all playing together.
That's literally pretty much what it was like.
Yeah.
I played. I reckon I played a year of Youth Girls, and again, Diamond Creek being a senior women's club, and Youth Girls being this really new, thing.
Yeah.
They did get a team, but you're trying to start from scratch. Diamond Creek's got a wonderful youth girls program of all different age groups now, but back when I was doing it, it was nuanced. It was so new. No one.
You were pioneering this sort of.
Well, but I not. Yes, to a degree, but also.
But from the junior side of. Like
it's
you
a
said,
whole new thing.
That hadn't been developed.
Not yet, and then you're trying to work out who do you play and where do you play and what jumper do you wear and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I sort of did that for a little while, but I was training with the seniors, and one of my first years with Dymo, I had to wear a helmet because I was the youngest player in the comp and at 15. And they sort of brought in a rule that you have to wear a helmet till, I think it was till you're 16.
Yeah, okay.
And so I had to wear a helmet for my first year of senior women's footy because I was too young.
Mate, they were just making rules up around you.
Well, no, but it was
Come and train, but that we're not.
Trying to protect you a little bit.
Yeah,
because you're like,
yeah.
I was so tiny and young and small compared to like senior women's, but
I
was okay.
You're never tall at the best of times.
No, I'm never going to be, am I? So, yeah, it was just a world that you're trying to adapt to when you've sort of known one thing and then, you get told you can't do something and you're like, okay, well, what next? Like, where's the next door that opens? And then I've, ever since sort of played sort of VFL footy and alongside of that, obviously played cricket. And at this stage, I'm going better at cricket than I am at football because there's a pathway of women's cricket at that age versus football.
Yeah, so there was already a junior women's cricket pathway, but there
Correct.
wasn't so much for you
For footy.
in that sort
Yep.
of 14 to 18 years old.
Yep.
There was a pathway there for cricket. And did that then, because there was a set pathway, aid your development in cricket, you feel, and that's why you got better?
Yeah, for sure. So like at that same very age of 13, 14, 15, getting selected to play in a couple of rep teams. Northeast Falcons was my rep team for cricket.
Yep.
And so you're playing that at that age I was playing that at that age as well. And that's like the pathway of, I think it was under 14s, maybe under 17s. And then through the under 14s, I got selected. We're really turning back the memory here. I've kind of evaporated a bit of this from my memory, but under 15 state cricket. And then you play your pathway stuff, and then that gets you selected to the under 16 to under 17 state cricket. And then from the state cricket, you get, if you're good enough, you obviously get selected into the Vic Spirit, which is the open age. Like that's the top Victorian women's cricket team you can play for.
Yeah.
So along that journey, I'm doing that and still have this real passion for footy. But as you start to get a little bit older and cricket starts to become a little bit more serious, the footy drops off and I can't quite do both. And so then you're in that, I guess, that time frame of your life. It's like, well, I've been doing two sports for a little bit and now I might have to pick one. And because cricket had a pathway and you could see this, you play your state cricket, you go to Victoria and then if you're good enough to that, you play for Australia. Like that's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
So
and that's such a clear pathway to
Very
see.
clear.
And everyone's seen it for 100 years beforehand.
Yeah. Been going forever. So it's just like, oh, well, I'm going to follow cricket because I can see where it may lead me. Whereas with footy, there was a few state teams sort of getting thrown around. And again, this was all like self-driven by so many amazing pioneers of women's football. So they'd done the best that they could in, there was no AFLW at that time. So, they're pulling, Victoria versus WA or whatever it might be. Lots of people pulling it together themselves. But so, yeah, I never played, even in the underage stuff when I played like youth girls football, I never got picked. I tried out for like the girls only stuff. Never got picked in any of it.
Yep.
Even I was playing senior women's football and a lot of the girls I was playing against were playing girls football. Again, not that there's they were playing against players their own age, whereas I was playing seniors. And I just never got picked for any of that. And it didn't bother me. I was like, oh, well, like I don't really care. I just want to play footy. But I also have this life where I'm playing cricket as well. So how much can I put into my footy if I'm got this pathway of cricket? So, yeah, it was kind of just one of those interesting journeys, I guess, of I always loved football more than I loved cricket. But I was I would say I'm a better footballer than I was a cricketer, but there was no pathway for football. So I just followed cricket because that was all there was.
Yeah, at that age,
At
when
the
you're
time.
looking at the options going, well, I can see how if I go well and I am successful at cricket, then there is a pathway there with open
correct.
doors.
Yep.
And so you obviously went down that path. And at what age, Kirsty, did you think to yourself, I want to turn sport into a career? Because so many kids out there at 6 to 10 years old go, I want to be a footy player. I want to be a basketballer. I want to do this. I want to do that. And 99% of them end up doing something completely different. And sport's just a passion and something that kids enjoy growing up but don't turn into a career. At what age or stage did you go, I reckon I could have a crack at doing this?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's probably those like late teens, 17, 18, sort of, I can't even remember my first year I think my first contract with Vic Spirit was either 17 or 18. So probably a couple of years prior to that when you're playing under 15 state cricket, under 17 state cricket. And you're like, if I can get that right, I might get myself a contract with the Vic Spirit. And that's probably where it kicks off to going, oh, we're not training, on a Friday night for 6 weeks in the lead up to a competition. It's like, oh, no, we're training like 3 days a week or whatever the hours were. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's a proper commitment, all while I'm doing school. And poor Dad's driving me into, the MCG or Junction Oval in St Kilda, a couple of times a week.
It's a huge commitment from a family point of view too, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that goes across all sports.
100%, yeah. So obviously grateful to have loving, supporting parents who are willing to, put their child to sport and see where it might lead. So, yeah, obviously very lucky to have sort of mum and dad, and mum doesn't like to drive out of the vicinity of Yarrambat too often, so Russ was up for all the driving. But I'll tell you what, I got my my driver's hours up real quickly. It didn't take a lot when you're driving between Yarrambat and the MCG a couple of times a week to build those hours. So I did that pretty quickly. So as soon as I turned 18, I had done more than enough hours to get my license and knew the route very well because I'd done it a lot growing up.
That's the best part of an hour drive in, hour drive out. You're soon racking up the hours,
absolutely
like you say.
Up.
Now, MCG, let's just stop and talk MCG for a minute. This is one of the premier sporting grounds, well, it is in the country, but also in the world, right? Yep. And you grow up following footy, following cricket. When you say you're going into the MCG, like every week, is this to the nets? Are we out on the pitch? What are we doing
I'd love to say we're out on the pitch, but no, the indoor net centre there. At that stage, Junction Oval existed, but it's again very well developed, and now is the home of Cricket Victoria, which it wasn't that when I was growing up. But yeah, I was obviously fortunate enough to play a couple of games on the MCG for cricket, and that was for Victoria and a little bit of Big Bash sort of stuff. But I think I've got a photo somewhere along the lines of Dad taking a photo of the scoreboard with me in the picture in the background, like fielding. So I've obviously been fortunate enough to play a game of footy and a game of cricket on the MCG. So yeah, obviously not a lot of people.
Is that a pinch yourself moment when you're out there, or are you just locked in and
you're always locked in because
business as usual?
I don't like losing, so I like to win. So whenever I'm playing a game of sport on any field, I just want to win.
Yeah, whether it's the Yarrambat Junior Footy Club,
that is the home of football, Yarrambat Junior Footy Club. But I guess yes, it's a pinch yourself moment. I probably don't think about it too much. Probably don't look back on it too much. But yeah, I guess when you think about like how many people have played, particularly women's sport on the MCG, it's obviously not as much as the men's. So. I guess so. You could say that. I probably don't. I'm not a massive reflector. That's probably one of my downfalls.
I'm hearing that. You're going to have to do some reflecting in this conversation.
Yeah, I don't probably think too much about it, but yeah, I guess it's a pretty cool thing to have done in your lifetime. I guess, yeah.
Does it look as big from on the oval, looking out to the stands, being surrounded by them, as it feels when you're there in the stands?
Yeah, it's a big ground. It's a big stadium. I've played in my fair share of stadiums with sort of both sports, and it's by far the biggest.
And you feel that when you're out there?
Yeah. It's like echoey. It's almost echoey, but also eerie in a way. Like depending if you're out there training and doing a fielding session, which we were very lucky with Victoria. Like we did definitely do our fielding sessions, sort of out on the G, and like when there's no one there and it's just like 20 of you out there doing a fielding session, like it's very echoey, and but it's a beautiful stadium. Obviously, it holds so many sporting events. Well, not just sporting events, but events, and it's very well known for the iconic stadium that it is in our country. So, yeah, I guess it's a bit of a pinch yourself moment. And, hopefully I'd love to get back out there one day with footy. Would be nice. With whatever footy I've got left, it'd be nice to get one more game on the MCG, I guess.
Surely.
Yeah, hopefully in the next
Are they
year
playing women's games there more regularly now?
Not at the MCG. There's a couple. Well, actually, I'm trying to think. This Sunday's double header. I think it's at Marvel.
Is that St Kilda Carlton?
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, that's at Marvel.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's at
reckon.
Marvel. Not quite the MCG. It is really big, and that's not saying that it can't be done. It can definitely be done. But yeah, maybe at some stage over the next few years, it'd be nice to see some games being played there. But I guess that's kind of the journey of AFLW at the moment is what does it look like with double headers and what sort of venues best suits women's football and putting on the best football that we can in a stadium that suits our style. So, yeah, not quite the MCG just yet, but there's obviously a few venues that are getting a run this year, which is awesome to see. So, yeah, hopefully there can be a good spectacle with those. What have we got? 5 double headers this year.
5 double headers. Yeah,
Season.
righto.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, we'll get back to the AFLW stuff because I think let's get to how this all kicked off and started. So you're now back at 17, 18, you get your first cricket contract.
Yep.
Do you then put footy to the side for a bit?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're just full-time cricket.
Pretty much. Yep. So still at school. I'm trying to remember like what a week would look like.
I should have briefed you and said, hey, you're going to have to remember some things.
Yeah, I know. I'm shocking, Benny. I'm shocking. No. But like I vividly remember Wednesday night training indoors at MCG and you'd finish by, I don't know, let's call it 9 o'clock. And you'd drive home to Yarrambat and you're back in there for a 6 a.m. start, only fitness on Thursday mornings. So it's like get home, smash some dinner, go to bed, wake up at 5, get in the car, be there for a 6 start. So it's not a arrive at 6. We're out running the concourse of the MCG at 6 a.m. in the pitch black. And then I go to school and
so then you're doing school after that,
Yep.
back out here?
No, I was going to school in the city at that stage. I quit school at year 10
Yep.
and went to a sports school, Cedar.
Yep.
And
So that was based close.
base close. I was at Melbourne Uni for 2 years. So I went from MCG to Melbourne Uni, so pretty close proximity. So yeah, do school and then finish school at Melbourne Uni and drive home. And so, yeah, and same with like a Wednesday night, I'd finish school and bum around in the city for an hour or so and waste some time and go to cricket training and then you just kind of rinse and repeat. And that was kind of life for, what was that? That would have been 18, 19. I finished Cedar at the end of when I was, 19. So I sort of was doing that for a little bit. And then before you know it, school's finished. It's kind of like a year 13, which is why I finished at 19, not 18. But you ended up with a diploma of recreational sport and recreation. So it was kind of slightly higher than year 12, like a year 12 score. So, yeah, I finished that at 19 and from there went straight into uni because that helped me get into uni because we were slightly highly qualified, I guess, in a sense, than someone coming out of year 12 because we had a diploma. So I was able to sort of get into university through my schooling stuff that I did. So, yeah, got into Vic Uni and did I was studying Bachelor of Sports Science, Exercise Science because at that stage I didn't know where sport was going to take me. It wasn't full-time. I can't even remember. I feel like my first contract was like a $100 fuel voucher at 17 or something. I was like, here, Dad, this will get us a tank from Yarrambat if we're lucky. So like
Wouldn't get you that now.
No, absolutely wouldn't get you very far at all. But it didn't anyway. But yeah, back with the cricket from a finance perspective, like
so
we weren't getting paid a lot.
Yeah, when you get your first cricket contract, you're not like, whew.
How good's this?
Here we go. I'm going to go put a deposit on my first house.
Correct. So you're thinking about like all these other things. It's like, this is amazing. Like I'm playing for my state. Like how good's this?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I've got to go to uni and I've definitely got to have, if I'm doing uni and cricket, well, I've got to have a job or a couple jobs in there. And I did exactly that.
Yeah.
So yeah, worked a couple of jobs, part-time or full-time uni, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And playing cricket. And footy was definitely on the back burner at this stage. Like I was chopping in and out of footy yearly or even every couple of years because I just couldn't fit it in.
And cricket, mate, are we batting, bowling?
Average cricketer. Real average. I was the 15th player and I won't shy away from that. No, I was an opening bowler, left arm opening bowler. I had a little bit of pace behind me, but I had no sense of where it was going to land. Like if I landed on the pitch, like I'm a chance of a wicket, but the variation of like bowling a good ball and a bad ball was like I bowl more bad balls than I would good.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, I knew that like I wasn't as accurate as what you needed to be at the highest of levels. So that definitely meant that I wasn't consistent. I was never consistently picked in the team. So I spent probably a good 5 years. I think it was 5 years on the VIX list. And I was very much a specialist fielder towards the end of it. Like if I'm getting a game, I'm not bowling and I'm not batting. Every now and then I'd like in my real early days, every now and then got thrown in to pinch hit and go and try and smack a few balls. But I was, you know, I'm batting 9, 10, 11 and maybe if I did play, I'd probably open the bowling. But at the same time, like I'm probably bowling 4 or 5 wides and over. So I'm not
very Sean Tate-esque, like
a little bit like that.
Yeah, come on, yeah. Could go absolutely anywhere.
Could go anywhere.
If we do land one, it could go well.
It could go really well. But then you know you're growing up playing, or you're bowling against some of the best. Like Meg Laning's my captain. You're bowling against Alyssa Healy, Grace Harris, like all of these Australian players that are still playing at the moment, and they would see me come on a bowl and they would lick their lips going, how good you beauty. I'm going to have an absolute field day here.
If she lands it on the pitch.
Nah, but then if I didn't land on the pitch, like that's a batter's dream. Like they can hit it wherever they want. So, yeah, I obviously grew up playing. I've played with some incredible cricketers and obviously played against
the rest of them.
The rest of them, yeah. So, yeah, to do that for obviously 5 years, I probably struggled a lot with my cricket. I probably didn't play out the way I wanted it to play out. I've sort of got bad memories with cricket. I don't know that I'll ever play the sport again.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
And you said you didn't love it anywhere near as much as footy from the get-go, but what do you mean you struggled with it, and especially towards the end?
It was probably more like fell out of love with the game, particularly towards like the couple of years when I knew I was like every year, I'd get to every year going, oh, is this the year I'm getting delisted? And if I did, like, what would my life look like? And I knew I just wasn't consistent and I didn't love the sport as much as what I would have liked. And I reckon it's because you place such a high value on playing the game.
Yeah, and getting picked.
And when you're not getting picked, just like being a complete failure is kind of the sense. So when you sort of go through a few years of not getting picked, it was sort of an interesting setup in the sense of, you play club cricket sort of in the off weekends when you're not playing state cricket. I was the only state player at my club for a good chunk of my sort of childhood.
Yep.
Captain of your club at a young age, not really sure, never captained anything in my life really. And then you get captain of a Premier Cricket club at a pretty young age and you're the only state player. And in terms of like just feeling like you've got support, probably didn't necessarily – and I loved Plenty Valley Cricket Club were awesome to me. I was so very lucky to come across so many great people there and, help me push my career to play for Victoria. So I'll always be very grateful for that. But in terms of if I look at across the board at like other clubs, they had multiple state players playing together at their club and I just didn't have that. So I sort of never felt like I maybe had the support that others had and was envious of that. And that's not...
Did you contemplate moving to a club that had
some
of those state players, or are those other state players saying, come play with us?
Yeah, I did towards the end.
Yeah.
When I was sort of tossing up, so my last year of footy, my last year of cricket, I'm playing WBBL for the Renegades. I've just been drafted to the Bulldogs. And there was a crossover year there where I did both.
Hang on.
2017.
Yeah, so
would be.
Stop for a second here. There's then the introduction of AFLW and there's the first draft.
Yep.
How on earth do you get drafted if you're not playing footy?
Yeah, so...
like you haven't played footy since...
I haven't played footy for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can...
Hey, guys, I can play cricket. Do you want to pick me?
We can wind the clock back a little bit. So those last couple of years of cricket, I'm real average. Like I'm not playing. I'm putting in all these hours and all this effort for...
That must be hard to rock up week
really
on week
hard.
on week.
mental battle of like, I've got to turn up. It's my job. I'm getting paid for it. Like, I'm not getting paid amazing money, but like, I've signed a contract. I'm getting paid for it, so I must turn up. And then it got to the year, so it's 2016 AFLW draft year. I'm at the crossroads with cricket. Like, am I getting dropped? Am I getting deselected? There's every chance. I'm going to go to UK and play cricket. I've played bugger all cricket over the summer. I've trained 1,000 hours for very little game time. So I'm going to make the decision. I always wanted to go over to England and play cricket. There was a few of us going from sort of Victoria, players that I've grown up playing state cricket with or play.
Is that like to play a women's version of county cricket?
Yep, county cricket. So exactly very similar, Vic Spirit style, but for county.
Yep.
So, and then they make this announcement that we're going to do an AFLW draft at the end of this year. And I'm like, oh, shit, what do? Do I go over to England and play, or do I stay here and play a whole winter of footy and try and get drafted? And I was like, no, cricket is my life. Cricket's my life. Cricket's my life. I've got to go.
I've got a contract. I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
I am a cricketer.
Yeah, and I need to prove that I can play cricket because I have been in the system for a little while and played not a lot of cricket. So I need to prove to people I can still play cricket.
Was it a prove to other people or prove to yourself?
Probably prove to myself more than anything. But there's probably a little bit of like trying to prove that you're still worthy of a contract for the next season or whatever it might be.
Because cricket's an interesting one. I was just sitting here listening to you, and interesting to get your thoughts in comparison to footy. They're obviously two team sports, right? It's not an individual sport like a tennis or a swimming or something like that, but there's a lot more individualism, I don't even know if that's a word, in cricket with a...
Yeah, well, you're batting to make runs.
Yeah, you are a
but
batter.
obviously for your team.
This is your average. This is there's a lot more individual sort of statistics and individual roles
in cricket,
and a spotlight put on each individual player. And obviously, the team's got half as many people as a
footy club,
or a team. Like, quite often, you can have a team run out playing footy, and there might be a couple of people out there that are just playing their role, doing their thing, but sort of everyone gets congratulated, or you still all feel like you've contributed to a win. Whereas I think cricket, you can go out there and have a shit day, make no runs, and even if the team wins,
you still feel
like you haven't contributed.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, and that's sort of how it plays out. And I think going back to if you're not getting picked, or you are lucky to be getting picked in your fielding, and that's all you're doing. You don't feel like you're contributing a hell of a lot. So it is a bit of a mental battle, and that's why I was like, I need to be playing. So if I go over to England, I need to play as much cricket as possible. And I don't care if it's men's or women's, but I had my women's clubs, but I also played men's cricket over there because I was like, at that stage, I was like, I just need to be playing as much cricket as humanly
So you
possible.
went to the UK?
I went to the UK. I made the decision. I was like, right, stay in Melbourne, play a whole year of women's football like VFL for Dymo, try and get picked. And I was like, nah, cricket is life.
And there's no guarantee with the option to play footy here.
No. But there's no guarantee that if I go to the UK and I get a contract for cricket either. So there's no guarantee for that at all.
But you didn't know you weren't getting a contract at this point in time?
I don't think so. I don't reckon. No. I'm definitely contracted for the next year.
Yeah.
Definitely contracted for the next year.
But it was just about...
But it was about
growth,
playing.
development, playing, opportunity, getting better.
Yep. Getting out of Australia, play in a different country, like what an awesome experience that will be. So
how long did you go over there for? Who with? Tell us about that. Like that
I reckon I think it was 3 months. I lived with a family over there in a place called Blythe Bridge. I played for Stoke on Trent, was my club cricket. So Meakin's Cricket Club was my club. And then, oh God, now you tested me. Who was my, I can't even remember who my county team was.
I couldn't tell you either, mate.
No, I can't even tell you. How bad's that? But I played county cricket. So I was playing against all the England.
Allegedly.
I was.
For a county team that we don't know.
I can't.
We don't know who they were.
I've completely lost it. But I was playing with Danny Wyatt, and she's one of
Russell. No, we'll ring Dad. He'll know.
Dad, no. But I was playing Danny Wyatt. I played club cricket at Meakins, and played county cricket with Danny Wyatt, who's she's still playing for England as we speak. So one of England's greatest opening batters that they've had.
Yeah, right.
So I'm playing with some English cricketers and against all the English cricketers. So again, this is
and
good
getting
development.
selected, playing.
Yep, this is good development. Like, cause playing against some of the no sort of different to what I was doing in Victoria. But how good is this? And I was playing men's cricket. But then I'd mount an argument that my cricket didn't go in. My social life over there was incredible. I had the best time of my life, but I don't know if my cricket was I don't know if it was going up or down, but you mount an argument it was going backwards. But that's okay.
That could have been due to the social life.
It was the social life I thoroughly enjoy my 3 months over there.
Yeah, okay.
But then I came back and I played I reckon it was about 5 games of footy for Dymo. Last few games of the season, came back and I was like, I'll chuck the boots on for a bit and don't think I'm pretty sure I didn't play the year before. So I haven't played a lot of footy in my time in the last couple of years. So I was like,
literally dusting the boots off.
yeah, I'll have a crack and I'll just play a few games. So I didn't play many games that year. And then the draft rolls around and Nathan had hurt himself at work. So we're sitting in emergency.
And this is your brother?
This is my brother, Nathan.
Yep.
So he's a plumber. Sort of hurt himself at work. Mum and Dad, I reckon, are in Bali. They're overseas. They're definitely not in Australia.
Yeah.
Draft day rolls around. Get a phone call from my brother. He's like, I've really hurt my leg. I've got to go into emergency. I was like, all right, I'll be there. So I remember sitting there. We're watching the draft.
So have you nominated for it?
I've nominated for it.
How did it work?
So you literally get like there's a link. If you want to nominate, you had to nominate a state. So it wasn't a national draft. It is now. It wasn't when for the first good chunk of AFLW, you had to nominate for a state. Obviously,
a state that you were willing to play
correct
for.
Yeah. So if you were like Melbourne based and you're like, I do not want to play. I want to go and play for Port Adelaide. Call it. I would have nominated for South Australia. And then you're either going to Adelaide or Port. So you're still not guaranteed that you're going to the club. And at this stage, I was like, I would just love to play. So I'm just going to nominate Melbourne because there's 10 teams in Melbourne. So the chances, there wasn't for AFLW. But do you know what I mean? Like there's more chance in Melbourne than any other state. So if it was Adelaide, if I had nominated for Adelaide at that time,
there's one team.
It was one team. It was Adelaide. So that was all you're going to. Or like, similar with, Brisbane and Perth and stuff like that. So
you're essentially nominating for a team.
A team. Whereas in Melbourne, you were nominating for Melbourne and you're like, well, I could go to a number of teams.
Yeah.
And that was fine because I wanted to stay at home and whatever else. So I'd nominated and going into draft day, I'm like, my chances are real slim. I've played a lot of football and like no one really knows me and that's completely fine because I've sort of chose to go cricket. But yeah, we're sitting there draft day, we're watching it. I'm watching all my friends get drafted from Diamond Creek and all of these players I've played against for the years growing up and whatever else. And I get to the stage where I'm like, I'm done. Like it's 140. I reckon there's 145 or 146. There was like
players picked in that first draft. Like this is the inaugural. Teams are filling their lists from
scratch.
140-ish,
give or take, spots. And I can't even remember. I got to like 120 or whatever it was, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not watching this anymore. I've sat there and watched all my mates getting drafted, so I turned it off.
Plus, you're at the hospital.
I'm in a hospital, and but at this stage, I reckon it was like a Wednesday or whatever. I had cricket training for Vic Spirit.
Yeah.
So
I got things to do, and I'm a cricketer.
Yeah, I'm a cricketer.
Here,
so I was
I am watching a draft for a different sport.
Yeah, but I've got cricket training. So I'm sitting there with my brother, and I'm like, well, I've got to leave soon because I've got to go to cricket training anyway at the MCG. So I did, and I was like, I remember like I turned it off. I'm not watching anymore. So I'm on the freeway driving to the MCG and my phone goes off. Oh my God, congratulations. Joe McEwen was one of the first people to message me saying congratulations. And I think she had like Bulldogs colour emojis or whatever there was back in the phones. And at that stage, I literally pull over on the freeway and I get the draft back up on my phone.
Hey, hang on a minute.
I pull over because I'm like, hang on. So I've missed my name being called out. So I was pick 138 of 140, whatever it was. So I've made I've just made it. Missed my name getting called out. Quickly pull up on my phone. I still, they had like the last 3 or 4 people that had been drafted on what club. So I'd just seen my name on screen and then before you know it, the next person gets called out, my name drops off. So
name's gone.
There goes that. So,
there goes that moment that everyone looks forward to, and you've sat through 120 names already.
And missed my own.
Yeah.
So classic me.
Probably should have tuned in at 120.
Oh, maybe I should have done that. But anyway, so I just missed my name and at that stage I was still playing cricket. Emma Carney had been taken by the Bulldogs. It was Jess Cameron, but then remarried to Jess Duffin, also taken by Collingwood at the time. So there's a couple of us playing Victoria. That
cricketers.
Cricketers.
Yeah,
that got
okay,
picked up.
yep,
So we go
yep.
to cricket training and, how cool is this? Like we've sort of all been picked up in this, new amazing competition that's starting next year. So that was kind of how that year played out. Like what a weird kind of year. Didn't pick footy to begin with. Went to cricket hoping to make something of my cricket career because it was falling down a hole rapidly.
Was there a conversation that you had to have with cricket to get the okay to put your hand up for the draft? And what was
I don't
like you said? There's three cricketers there that all
Yeah.
get drafted and are coming to cricket training going, "How good's this? We're playing footy next year." Are they going? Hang
hang
on
the
a minute.
seasons didn't clash. So there was
So
a
cricket
real-
was okay with you guys playing footy.
I think so. And at that stage, we weren't, again, from a financial perspective, you're not getting paid an enormous amount of money to tell someone, I don't think that you can't go and do something else either. And the seasons didn't clash. So there wasn't a world where it was like,
this is going to impact.
You've got to pick to play a game of football versus a game of cricket. They played in completely different times of the year. So from that side of it, like there was never a no because they didn't clash. So if there was a clash, I can see where it's like, oh, this is a genuine conversation now. But it was never the case. So the first couple of years we played sort of in those real early months of the year, whereas cricket was that was just club cricket at that stage. There was not really a lot of state cricket happening.
Yeah, okay.
There was certainly some overlap because at that stage WBBL is a thing, and that's in its first year. So my first year I might have my years slightly skew with here, but I reckon my second year of WBBL would have been maybe my first year of footy. And you go, WBBL is over Christmas and footy's like Feb, March. So you're training pre-season for footy, but I'm also training and travelling and playing WBBL over the exact same months. So that was when it did start to become a little bit hectic.
Yeah.
Because you're genuinely like pre-season for one sport, in season for another, and trying to make both work. And that's when the conversations come with like, footy was brilliant. The Bulldogs were brilliant because it was like, no, you play cricket. Like, we get it. And at that stage, footy was, a couple nights a week. It wasn't anything like it is now. Cricket was definitely, 5 years or whatever it was in advance of where football was. So you're trying to juggle two sports that are sort of overlapping now. Games aren't overlapping, so that should be fine. But games are overlapping with pre-season. So there's a lot happening. You're still working, you're still studying at this stage. So there's a little bit, life's a little bit chaotic at that time.
And when you get selected for the Dogs, AFLW, pick 138, what's it like in the build-up to that first season? Like you're in there, you're training, obviously in and amongst the club, associated with the men's club as well.
Yep.
And training out of the same facility there, Whitten Oval. Was that from the get-go there?
Yep. So 2016, the boys win the flag. Bulldogs, men.
Yep.
So you should know that. I'd like to think, Benny.
Well, I'm a Doggy supporter.
Yep.
I don't remember all of it. But yes,
But yeah, so like that's in itself is like, this draft happens. I can't even remember. I reckon it was before, it might have been just after the grand final. But I remember so we get drafted, all of these players.
Yeah, so you're getting drafted to the Premiers, essentially.
To the Premiers. And then your first interactions with the club is like the club's on this absolute high, haven't won a flag for years and years and years. Like the boys just go through this unbelievable run into finals, win a flag. And then this AFLW thing comes along and we've got all these new players. They've just been drafted and, it's a bit of a whirlwind for everybody in the AFLW sort of community. And yeah, you're walking into a club. So I remember Christmas party. We got invited to Christmas party. We've been, let's call it contracted for best part of a few weeks. And we roll into Christmas party with all the boys and
they're on an absolute high.
They're on a high. They've just won a flag.
And there was a few rat bags in that team.
They were a good team.
Yeah.
They were a very good team. But yeah, so that was kind of the first introduction to Western Bulldogs. Like, how good is this? And it kind of just kicks off from there. I guess like the hours and stuff that we were doing we didn't have a lot of crossover because at that time, and rightly so, like the training hours were predominantly late afternoon into the evening because we all had jobs and whatever else, whereas the boys were there sort of during the day. So we didn't have a lot of crossover for that first, for those first few years, just purely out of like, they're in there during the day and we're in there during the night. So like the time just generally doesn't work. But nonetheless, you still feel like you still play for the same club, you train at the same facility, you wear the same colours, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, those first few years of footy, it's just goes so quickly, you're playing.
Were you picked for the first game?
Yep. I remember that year, I reckon I was coming off stressies in my foot with cricket. So I spent most of the cricket WBBL. I don't reckon I played a game of WBBL that year. I was in a moon boot for a lot of it. And then I do remember I came good with the last couple of games and I was like, I want to play another game of cricket. And I know my cricket career is like, this is probably it. Like I'm probably getting given like the boot at the end of this season. Probably rightly so.
This is the farewell tour.
This is like, career's done.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be, but I've got footy, so like to be honest, like I didn't have, as I said earlier, I didn't probably have the greatest experience with cricket. So that conversation it did come, that conversation. I got delisted. And as hard as that conversation was, it was probably a good thing because I didn't love my cricket. I loved the people. I loved like all my friendships and my mates and stuff like that, but I probably didn't love the sport like I did when I first started it. So I fell out of love with the game. And it probably isn't the worst thing that happened to me because then I was picked to play footy when that was a sport that I really loved. So, sometimes things happen for a reason, right? Like one sport comes to an end, but this beautiful thing of AFLW starts up at like almost the exact same time.
And that must have made that news and conversation about being delisted so much easier. I can only assume to go, well, at least there is the next thing rather than it just being...
It's done and you've got nothing to go to.
Yeah, that feeling like it's been all these years, all this effort, all these hours, and then that's it, career over. At least it's now career change to another form of sport. It's all this training, professional athlete, that side of things now just changes
just transition
direction.
to a different sport. Yeah. So that year of like the last year of WBBL, moon boot, didn't play a game. And my coach was he was really good and he's like, I actually just want you to focus on footy. Like you're not going to be right to play cricket because you've been injured, but you can get yourself right to play your footy season.
Oh, this is your cricket coach.
This is my cricket coach. And I was like, yeah, but I want to play cricket. Like
I'm a cricketer.
I'm a cricketer. And I'm in cricket season, so I've got to play cricket. But he's just like, no, I'm not going to pick you because I want you to just get your feet right for footy. So he was really good with that. And, looking back, I'm like, oh, what a legend that he was able just to go like, don't worry about cricket. Like, it's all good. We weren't playing finals or anything. But I really wanted to play that like one more game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was brilliant about it and he's just like, just focus on footy. And
sometimes it's nice to hear that from somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. When they just sort of take that pressure off your shoulders a little bit. So anyway, I did end up getting picked for footy for that first game. That's one that... Like, I don't have the greatest of memories, I don't reckon. Like, if you said you played so-and-so in this game and you won by a point or whatever, like, I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about most of the games of footy. And I definitely don't remember any cricket games. I'm not great with remembering stuff from sport. But I definitely remember my first game of football. It was... Here I'm saying I've got a decent memory, but I don't. It was either a Friday or a Saturday night. But it was Whitten Oval. It was under lights. It was a night game. And it was a packed Whitten Oval. And
Playing
it was just Fremantle.
Yeah, okay.
And it was just such an incredible night. That one I definitely remember. I've got a picture of me, Mum, Dad and Nathan wearing a Bulldogs jumper, my very first game. And I've got that up in my bedroom, which I love that photo. It was my first game of football ever, Whitten Oval under lights. It was just incredible. It was packed, absolutely packed. The crowd was so loud. Like when you've run, I remember like running out for the game and like everyone's like cheering your name or whatever it might be. And like that's for the first time that you're like, wow, this is incredible. I sort of haven't had that experience with cricket. Put it that way. Like I hadn't yet had that experience with cricket where you're running out and you've got a packed oval or a packed stadium.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
cheering.
Your first footy match is that.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is incredible. So yeah, go on to win that game of football. Did we win that game of football? Jeez, I think we did. I can't remember anything. It was actually so bad.
We'll have to go back and look up the archive.
Have a look at the archives of that one. But yeah, I just remember it being like such an amazing experience. And before you know it, like cricket's not an afterthought. Like I'm not even thinking about cricket. I'm like, oh well, that part of my life is done. I was totally okay with it.
Yeah, so it was a pretty quick shut the door.
Yep.
We're on to bigger and better things.
Let's
here.
go. I'm now playing the sport that I really love. And again, not that I didn't love cricket. I loved it, but I didn't love it the same way I love footy. So I was like, oh, cool, cricket's done. Getting delisted is probably the best thing that happened to me because I don't have to worry about it and I don't have to hate the game. Like the game's done. So I can just go and play football and enjoy football. And that was kind of what I did from then on.
What was I'd love to just for a second think about that 13-year-old that got told and that tap on the shoulder, hey, you can't play footy anymore. Come and train here with the rep team. Oh, but we can't pick you as much as we want to.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward probably nearly the best part of close to 10 years.
Yeah, what was the first year? How old am I in 2017? I don't even know. 20, 21? Maybe?
Yeah, okay. So, 8 years down the track and all of a sudden you're running out into a pack stand for the first game of AFLW for the Dogs. Now, do you reckon that little girl ever thought that was going to happen?
No, not at all.
And was everyone in the team probably had similar experiences at some point in time and similar stories to the playing a sport that for so long didn't have
definitely
a pathway?
I mean, probably players that are probably similar to my age that got picked up were thankfully we were coming into the first year at in our early 20s. So if this thing kicks off, I could be in it for a little while. I sort of think more for the poor people or the players that were in their 30s getting picked up going, oh, this is I've waited my whole life for this. And I might only be in it for a year or two because, I'm getting a bit older and all that sort of stuff. So I sort of think more for those people, they've waited way longer than I did. And, now the next generation, you grow up as a 5 or 6 year old girl playing Auskick and stuff, and there is this wonderful pathway, and AFLW is so visible for those players. So I just think about all the people that did it before me, who did all the hard yards, that didn't have AFLW, that would have loved to, but as a kid growing up, you had no aspirations to do it because it wasn't a thing that you could see. All you saw was men's football, so you couldn't see women's footballers on TV. It wasn't really an aspiration. Whereas the cricket, you could see the Australian women's cricket, so there was something you could visually see. You knew you could work towards it. Whereas growing up with cricket, with footy, I just never thought it would be a thing. But once it was announced, I was like, how good is this is it. This is the sport that I've always wanted to play.
And there's that saying, isn't there? You can't be what you can't see.
No, not at all. You can't. So there was no hope as a 13-year-old kid playing boys footy that I was ever going to play women's football because it was just not a thing.
Because it's just not a thing. So then tell us about the footy career from then, mate. You get picked first season and then on to sort of continuing to develop. Is the team going well, and how did it all sort of work? Because this is literally the sort of conversation around the whole premise of Flying Blind, which is we're now talking about a whole competition that, yes, they've got the men's competition to model off, but it's so different in so many ways. Yep. You start it we're comparing it to and I think this is an interesting question itself with the constant comparisons between the men's game and the women's game. Yes, it's the same sport, but there's so many differences, and is that a good thing to continue to compare it, or do we need to look at it as its own thing? Because essentially it's had to forge its own pathway in so many ways, and you can't just, and it hasn't been able to just pick up the exact same audience and fan base of the men's game. Yeah.
It's a very good question, and everyone's got sort of their opinion on what's right or what's wrong or what's the direction moving forward and all that sort of stuff. But, those first few years, everyone's just trying to get their head around what does this competition look like. At this stage, we're playing 7 games over, which makes it 7 to 9-week competition kind of thing. You're training a couple of months before that for, a few games and stuff like that. So everyone's just trying to get their head around, like, what is it? And you're right, you can't just replicate men's football, right? Because yes, we play the same game and arguably play under the same rules. We have less on the field, so like there's many differences. But like trying to structure up a footy club from ground zero, is not easy for anyone to do. And yeah, you've got this model of the men's football, but you don't have the same money and you don't have like all the same resources and all this sort of stuff. So those first years is like so much learning for everyone, for players. Like, what does it take to be an athlete? Like around nutrition. And thankfully I had a little bit of that education through cricket, but not everyone has that pathway. So for so many of those players in those first few years, it's just a whirlwind and it's so much learning on the fly, trying to be the best you can be in what is a pretty short, sharp AFLW season, if you include preseason and playing.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time to work things out and try things and then go, well, that didn't work, let's try. Oh, shit, the season's over. Like,
yeah.
We'll have to try that.
We'll come back in 12
next
months. So, those first few years, everyone's just trying to do the best they can with, the competition that was. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, things take time to develop. If you look back at, coming into season 11 this year and how far the game has come in a 10-year period is just incredible. And it's grown so quickly and, the professionalism, the standard, the resources, the growth from both like a development of girls playing footy now to what it once was. Like everything about women's football has grown so quickly. Like 10 years is it's a long time, but it's not a long time like in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, the game's just come so far in such a short period of time and, yeah, obviously like super grateful that I've been able to see it transpire over the length of my career. I think about 18-year-olds that get drafted now realistically have no idea where like the game's come from. They were 8 years old, 8 years old, watching women's football when it first started. So they probably don't quite know how much the game's sort of transpired over the last few years. So yeah, I just think that it's such a wonderful competition. Like the girls can see there's a real pathway now, and they can see women's football. They can see it as a dream that they want to do that as a job. And yeah, I guess I'm just so fortunate that I've been able to see it grow over a 10-year period and have been a part of that. And obviously playing in 2 clubs and watching the Bulldogs, go from strength to strength and more resources, more, it was a very competitive competition. Every club, and you see teams come into the competition over that period as well. We add more teams and how does everyone adapt to that? And, even in those first couple of years, like we won a flag season 2, which was amazing, but like no finals. You sort of finish your ladder 1 and 2 and that shit through premiership, like you're going to go play for a grand final kind of thing. Oh,
really?
Like,
so there was no...
Even that changed over my course of my time, there
was no semi-finals,
1 and
prelims,
2,
nothing.
1 and 2 go and play in a grand final, and then there was a year where we had, I don't even know how to describe it now. There was a year where we had 2 competitions almost.
Yeah, I remember that, and it was
there was two
conferences.
2 conferences,
yeah.
And you play everyone in your conference, and you play a couple, and then it was the top 2 from each conference play off in a final, and then whoever wins those plays in the grand final. So, even stuff like that has transpired over, the course of my time. And
but now it's not conferences, is it?
Not conferences. No. That lasted a year. That didn't quite work out. Maybe the way that some people had sort of visioned it, which is fine. Sometimes you make decisions and they don't work out the way you want them, so you adapt and you change things. But yeah, that was only a year that the conference thing lasted, and then, now it's very similar. Well, it was similar to the men's last year, but now with wildcard in the men's, it becomes different again.
Yeah.
Everything just sort of constantly evolves, I guess.
So how many started with 7 in a season?
Yeah.
What are we up to now?
12. We're up to 12 now.
So you still don't play everyone?
I don't play everyone once, which is obviously the dream. That's the goal. There's no sort of shying away from that, but there's, so many reasons why that becomes sort of harder. Not harder, but you can understand why it's going to take some time to sort of get to the 17. We're playing more practice matches this year than we've ever played before. So we're not quite up to playing everybody once. Will the competition get there? Yeah, it'll get there. I guess it's just a period of time or it's a matter of when. But, I guess ultimately everyone is trying to be the best footballers they can. Every club's trying to put the best resources and have the best program that they can to keep this competition succeeding over a long period of time and getting to the stage where we do play, everybody once. And it probably won't happen in my time, which is completely fine. But I've seen the competition grow from 7, 8 games, whatever it was in those first couple of years to now 12, and playing in having 18 teams. I've watched that. We didn't have 18 teams to start with, and I've watched that process where new teams have come into the competition and how that's sort of played out. So yeah, there's been so much over my time of watching this competition grow and develop, and yeah, I guess pretty fortunate to have been a part of that process in a way.
Yeah, and it's interesting how it has all sort of transpired and grown and built and developed, and it, like the jump from 7 games to 12 games is huge. And it was interesting the other night when we caught up and you were saying that one of the things that ultimately you would love is to get to the point where you play 100 games. But it's interesting sitting here, I was just thinking about it going, 100 games in the men's competition.
Yep. Can be done in 4 years.
Can be done
give or take.
Yeah, can be done roughly in 4 years. And you hear these kids that sometimes if they get drafted, high draft pick, or they're playing from sort of year one, they can be 22, 23 and they're ticking off 100 games. And like for you girls, it's 10 years of toiling away and playing and 7 games this year, and we made a final that we ticked off 8 games this year, and now what are you in? You're up to 80s.
Yep, mid-80s, I think.
Mid-80s.
Probably didn't play as much footy as I would have liked last year, which, that's just the way that footy plays out. But yeah, I think last year was obviously the first year we saw a few girls tick over that 100-game milestone, which, yeah, for a few of them or for most of them, they would have been in it for all of it. So, yeah, you're talking 10 seasons of football to reach 100 games, which 10 seasons in a men's game's like 300 or something. So when you sort of, when you do compare the two competitions, like it's...
But that's why you can't compare it, because at
There's
the
so many
at the
things
moment,
you can't compare, but yes.
Yeah, 100-game milestone is the equivalent to a 300.
Yeah.
A 250 or a 300.
Yeah.
Really, like that's the time and the effort and the energy you've put in.
Yep.
From an equivalent point of view. And that's where the comparison must be hard sometimes when you've got these girls celebrating 100 games and you must sort of cop or feel of that comparison with, but it's not 300.
But you'd take it though. Like to watch it come from where we started to where we are now, like it's pretty amazing seeing players tick over the 100-game milestone, and before you know it, you'll have a player reach 150, in a couple of years kind of thing, and it's like, oh my God, 150. So I don't actually know who the leading games. I've got a rough idea, but I'm trying to think of how many games they would have played, and they'd be up to like maybe between 105 and 110, I reckon. And like, so they're not far off, a season or two, and there's maybe, depending on the finals and all that sort of stuff, like getting close to that 150. But 100's incredible. Like, would I like to play 100 games? Like, absolutely. Will it happen? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It depends how long I stay in the game for, and how your body goes and how your performance goes and all those sorts of things. There's a lot of things that can play into it, but yeah, ultimately, like I'd love to play 100 games, but I'm not sure how realistic that is. Time will tell, I guess.
Time will tell. Time will tell. And mate, 10-year career, highlights, lowlights.
Yep.
Like, we're talking a sport where you're still working. Like, there's a whole lot of balance, whole lot of commitment, whole lot of sacrifice, and in and amongst that, like you said, you've also a few years ago moved from the Dogs, got traded to Port Adelaide for the last. Is it this year?
This is my third season.
Third year there.
Yep.
I'd love. What do you reckon your couple of main highlights, or best things that have happened in that 10-year period, and then maybe what are some of the tougher moments that people wouldn't see? Yeah,
for sure. Obviously, winning a premiership is up there definitely. I think, I'm sort of not someone who thinks too much about like the individual stuff. Like it's just not the way my brain works. Yeah, I've had those individual moments of All Australian, best and fairest, and the likes, and obviously very grateful for them and very appreciative and stuff. But the team stuff far outweighs the individual stuff for me, and I'd love to win another premiership for all the hard work that everybody puts in, not just players, like staffing and stuff like that as well, because that's kind of that's the dream. That's what you come to footy for every year, is like that's what you're working towards, right?
The individual accolades, they're the bonus, but they're not the goal.
Nah, they're definitely not the goal. So yeah, I'd love to, like the flag was definitely one of them. I guess some of the harder stuff to go through, obviously I had a choice to make. I chose to get traded to Port, and that's obviously the decision that I'll have to, like, I live with, because, at that time I'll forever be grateful for the Western Bulldogs. Like they'll always have a place in my heart. Like ultimately, like they drafted me and I've won a flag for them. So, there'll always be a place in my heart for them. And I would guess it was just at that stage of my life where I was looking for something different, and that sometimes not everyone has their workplace doesn't always provide them the ability just to pack up and try something different, right? But footy does have that avenue, and obviously having grown up barracking for Port Adelaide and have the family ties to the club that I do have, kind of just seemed to be an opportunity that, I could pursue a couple of things. I've always sort of wanted to live in another city. I've wanted to try different things in my life, but because I've been so committed to sport, I've never really been able to, I wouldn't say I've lived, the life of a normal sort of not person growing up, but going to all the travel and experience the world and all these things.
Yeah, well, you had to go and play cricket to travel.
Well, I've done my travel through my sport pretty much. Yeah. But do you know what I mean? So like when you look at it like that, it's like, well, I've chosen to play sport my whole life, and to a degree that limits how much you can do outside of your life because you're so committed to your sport. So I thought, well, is there a way that I was just looking for something different in my life, and footy provides an avenue, and having some connections with Port Adelaide, that just seemed to be a good fit.
And when you got traded to them, were they? My memory's blurry here. Was that their first year?
No. I'd had a conversation. I came in for their third year.
Their third year, right?
Yeah, so 3.
But they were then obviously a much newer club than what
Correct.
you were then leaving.
Yes. Yep. So Bulldogs in it for.
Yeah, since the get-go, and then you're going to a much newer club.
Yep, that is still trying to – it takes – I don't know – like it takes time, right? Like I'm not sure there's a club that can come in and absolutely nail everything from the very get-go the first year. Like it takes time for everyone to understand the system and the world that they're sort of living and breathing in. So, yes, I chose to go to a relatively still new club, learning, developing, growing, all that sort of stuff, which I love. Like I love watching players younger. Most players are younger than me these days, but I do love watching them grow up.
Back in my day.
Yeah, back in my day when I first started. But yeah, I do love watching sort of the younger generation sort of come through and trying to help develop players and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so obviously moved to Adelaide, and that has probably thrown up some challenges. There's no doubt about it. Moving away from home, having 3 little nephews, and also like obviously a partner now in Melbourne. So living a life where I wanted to pursue my footy, and ultimately footy's not going to last forever, and that's what I keep falling back on. Like as hard as it is living away from home, I chose to do it. So that's something that I have to, like, that was my choice. But yeah, it is.
You can't get too upset about it when you go, well, I did choose
this. Yeah, and I knew it was going to be hard. I guess sometimes you don't really realise how hard it is until you do it. And that's also part of life, right? We make decisions, and sometimes you make the right decision, sometimes you don't, and you learn from them and you grow from them. So I have really enjoyed my time in Adelaide. It's thrown up some challenges in the sense of like living away from home, but that was also partly what I was looking for, right? Because I was sort of stuck in my ways in Melbourne, just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I was like, well, if I move cities and I move footy clubs, it throws up a whole new challenge in life, which is what I was looking for. And it's certainly done that, and that's, it's taught me heaps. I've obviously met so many people in Adelaide. I got a job in Adelaide, which is a job that I love doing. And if I didn't go to Adelaide, I was never getting that job. So, as much as there's been some challenges around living away from your family and your friends and all those sorts of things, like it's also thrown up some opportunities in my life as well, which I probably wouldn't have got if I didn't go. So,
Do you reckon it's been the right call?
yeah, it's definitely challenged me in many ways. From not just a footy perspective, like from a life perspective. So, yeah, I think I've learnt a few things about like myself, and as you get older and you get more mature, you learn about what matters to you more than like other things. And work's taught me so much about a different side of sport. So I've obviously like played sport, but now working for a company who works within sport, you kind of see a whole other side of sport that you don't necessarily think about when you're playing. Like when you're playing, you're just a player, and you're just trying to be the best player that you can and play the best football.
Yeah. So tell us, what do you do for work? Just so
Yeah,
everyone
so I work
knows
for
what's going on here.
I work for a company at the moment called Kojo. We work in sports production or sports entertainment. So when you go to any sort of sporting, talk about MCG or whatever it is, and there's fireworks and there's lighting and there's hosts doing interactions with the crowd or doing activations on the game in the middle of like the quarters, out on the ground, and all that sort of everything that goes on like a scoreboard, like whether it be stats or scores or replays or whatever it might be on the big screens and the LEDs in the stadium. Sort of, I work for a company that sort of builds the in-stadium sort of entertainment for a wide range of sports. I predominantly work in the Cricket Australia side of the business. So Cricket Australia is one of our biggest sort of clients or partners that we have. So, I sort of help build a very small part because it's quite a large job that we do, but, build like the Cricket Australia season for all of those games. But, yeah, it's a massive company. We pretty much touch every sport in the country, NRL, basketball, netball, footy, cricket. Yeah, quite a big company, but it's that side away from you see the players on the field, but you don't necessarily sort of not everyone would have an understanding of what it takes to put that on and all the intricate details that go on behind the scenes to put sport on. And we link in with sort of broadcast a little bit. So then that's a whole nother world. So it's like you've got the players, you've got broadcast, and then you've got like the entertainment, fan-based side of sport as well. So yeah, I think that's kind of taught me a fair bit of not appreciation, but appreciation to a degree of like how much work goes into putting on sport across the country. And so that's taught me a fair bit.
Yeah, it's not just a coach and some players and an umpire rocking up at a venue
it's so much
and
more
people
than
coming
that.
to watch. There's a lot of moving parts and you're seeing and are a big part of now the back end of that and seeing all the workings on by the sound of it because so many of us just rock up.
Yeah, turn up, buy a ticket and just go sit in your seat and watch everything that happens.
Yeah, and go, oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Or like you say, those activations or I remember, I don't actually know what sport or what event it was. I think it was the footy where they do like the race, the diagram or the car,
that goes around the LED, around the outside of the ground.
Yeah, and then someone
builds that.
Yeah, someone from the crowd, then they
try
jump
and race
on.
it or whatever it is.
And all that, the crowd all gets into and following them and pumping them up, and that's all just that quarter time, half time. There's always something happening.
Yep.
But yeah, someone comes up with that idea, and then someone's got to build that, and that's obviously. And what's your role in and amongst that?
Yeah. So I do I'm operations and logistics. So essentially, I sort of look after about give or take like 100 people across the country. So like camera crew, hosts, MCs, like audio people, engineers. So if you think about the Cricket Australia summer, there's I think 26 games this year across, multiple venues in the country. So mine's like a big puzzle piece essentially. I've got a set of crew that I need to fly across the country to make sure, they're at each stadium building whatever it is they need to build. We've got, multiple different kits. We have obviously in stadium. Some stadiums have everything built within the stadium, which is awesome. Some stadiums don't have that. So we have to send a couple of trucks that drive, might drive from, let's say SCG to, the Gabba or Allan Border Field or whatever, because it doesn't have the infrastructure in there, so you've got to build it. So it's quite technical. I've learned a hell of a lot about stuff that I had no idea about. I'm certainly no tech, that's for sure, but I know how to book flights and accommodation and make sure people are fed. So yeah, like I do all that sort of stuff.
And do you have to travel for the events as well?
Yeah, obviously it clashes. Cricket season clashes with footy, so I don't sort of hit the road until like the test matches come summertime, because that's kind of when footy sort of wraps up. But yeah, I guess I look after everything from like flights, accommodation, accreditation, contract, paying people, a whole range of things. But it's over obviously the whole cricket summer, so you're trying to crew people in all of these various roles for every different venue. Some people travel, some people you find locally, so it's sort of putting that jigsaw piece together, and and then obviously the season rolls in, and then you're just working on game days, trying to make sure that everything's set up and sort of troubleshooting on the fly a little bit as games go. And at this stage, like, believe it or not, I've got people travelling this weekend to Darwin. There's a test match in Darwin next week, which not many people may or may not know. But there's
that's
a couple
against Bangladesh, I think.
Yep, against Bangladesh, nailed it. So one in Darwin and one in Mackay over the next couple of weeks, and essentially the cricket season kicks off right as round one kicks off for footy. So
perfect timing.
Love it. But yeah, so from a work perspective, like very busy at this time of the year. But
is that nice too?
Yeah, so
to be able to switch off from footy, or would your preference be to be able to 45-day a week?
I would love to be a full-time athlete. There's a world where I probably could be if I chose to, but then I also really like switching off from the game of football and being occupied doing something else. There's a world where I would love to be full-time footy, but then I also, on one side of it, I think I'm like, what do I do what would I do? Like we train a lot.
What would I think about? What would I talk? What would just have to be footy?
We train, 25 hours a week. So when you think about how many hours there are in a week, like 25 doesn't fill it. So it's like you got all this time on your hands of like, what else would you do? And there's heaps of stuff like, heaps of people do obviously different things like study and whatever else, go and do like part-time job, casual job, whatever it is. But I like the idea of having something else to think about and, being able to switch off from the game of football. Like I think that's really healthy for men and women, anyone in sport. It's not even just footy, like sport in general, like having something else that takes your brain off the pressures and the like living and breathing a sport. Having something outside of that, I think, is really important. And I've had that from day one of footy. Like I've worked my entire career, and I wouldn't change it for the world, because it's like I'd like to think I've developed some life skills through having various jobs over the last 10 years that if I didn't work, I wouldn't have any of those skills. So I've learnt a lot about like what I've done from careers and like study and stuff. I'm relatively set, I think, with where I want my career to go post-football. If I didn't work, I wouldn't have learned any of those things. So I maybe still 32 years old going, well, what do I do when footy finishes? Well, I'm really clear on where I want to go when footy finishes. And I only know that because I've worked throughout my career and I've learnt various things along the way. And
you've probably been able to tick off a number of those career stepping stones without having to start from scratch at 33, 34, 35, whenever
the game finishes.
Yeah, whenever the career comes to an end.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like,
you might do a Pendlebury, you might still be playing at 39.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the body can do that.
You don't reckon you got another 8 years in you?
Absolutely not.
No.
Nah. Maybe, hopefully, a couple more. We'll see.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I've certainly learnt so much about the game of sport, sports admin, or what it takes to, build sport, I guess, from all these things that people sort of don't necessarily always sort of see. But that's only because I've had multiple jobs now in sport, and they've all taught me something different, which I'm very grateful for. And yeah, hopefully I've set myself up through study and work that once football finishes, I've got some avenues to go down to try and find, that career path that, I'm still hopefully involved in sport, albeit not playing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think if you, like you said, you think about that move to Adelaide and that this new job, career opportunities, there has been so much that has come for it.
Yep.
I want to hit you with a tough one.
Go on.
If we wound back the clock 3 years,
Yep.
would you make the decision to go to Adelaide? Because it sounds like it's been both rewarding opportunities, but
Yep.
also probably one of the harder
Harder.
things you've done.
For sure. Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Would I? Yeah. It's a tough one because it's like there's a world where I'm like, if I had stayed in Melbourne, would I have just gone about my business as I always have, and would I have challenged myself the way that I have from moving to Adelaide? You'd probably say no.
Yeah, you would have remained probably a lot more comfortable.
100%, 100%. And, you know, I definitely wouldn't have the job that I have, so I wouldn't have learned any of that side of sport. So there's a world there where I'm like, yeah, well, I would have spent, an extra 3 years at home and been around family and friends more. But from that side of it, like from a family, friends, like your true family and friends, they'll always be there. Whether you're living in the same city or not, they'll always be there. And so from that perspective, it's like, well, at some stage, whenever I do eventually sort of come back to Melbourne, like my people will still be there. And they've always encouraged me, and that's probably, again, one of the learnings out of the journey is your people will always be there, and it's okay to go and try things because things don't always last forever. Like footy's not going to last forever. And so, I've sort of been encouraged, those 3 years ago to like go and try something new. Home will always be home. And you can come back whenever you want. My mother would love to have me back tomorrow, but she'll have to wait a little. She always reminds me of that. But yeah, I think I'd still make it because it's taught me a hell of a lot. And if I didn't make that decision, well, I don't know if I'd be where I am today if you don't challenge yourself in some way, shape or form throughout life. And yeah, like I said, you make decisions on a daily basis. Some of them pay off and some of them don't, but that's the whole part of like the journey of life, right? Is like trying to work things out as you go, and if things don't work out to plan, well, you change directions a little bit and you try and work out what does work. So I've certainly learnt a lot. It's challenged me a hell of a lot, and I guess that's all a part of life is just
bloody oath it is.
Trying to enjoy the challenge.
Do you reckon that's been one of the harder decisions you've had to make?
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I didn't necessarily want to leave the Bulldogs. There was a few like things that sort of popped up as to like, pros and cons. There's pros to cons with every decision that you make in life. And it was really, it sort of came down to like not necessarily about footy. It came down to what do I want to do as a person. And a lot of it was like trying to get out of my comfort zone as a person and live in a different city and be challenged in different ways. So the footy was the avenue that I was lucky enough to be able to use and, go and play for the club that, my uncle played for. And, it definitely ticked boxes, obviously, from a football perspective, but there was so much more to the decision than just football. I wasn't making it purely based on football. There was a lot of decisions there around, like, what do I want to get out of myself? And lucky enough that, yeah, it has challenged me in many ways. And it's also, made heaps of memories and opportunities. And so it's not just the challenging side, which sounds like hard. It's like it's brought a lot of joy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And decisions do that. There's such a turning point moment in life sometimes. And like you say, it's cool to hear that, yes, footy's been the avenue for that, but it also wasn't the driving factor. It wasn't a bad experience at the Bulldogs that you said, I've got to get out of here. It was weighing up what do you actually want, and I think identifying and having the awareness of I can just stay here and I can keep doing this, but hey, I also could go and try something different. And you've got the opportunity, and you're in a line of work being footy that is possible and possible quite. I shouldn't say quite easily, but there are a lot of avenues every year that comes around when you get to trade period that you can explore that if it's something that you're looking to do.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Which is cool. Hey, one other area I'd love to dive into a little bit deeper with you is it's well documented the pressure of sport and the pressure and the impact that it can have on some athletes' mental health. You've obviously then got access to and have probably worked with sports psychologists and people like that.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the tougher moments for you? What are some of the tougher moments that you've had mentally?
Yeah.
And what have you done to sort of overcome them, manage them, get through them? What's that looked like and been like for you, mate?
Yeah, there's certainly like pressure, definitely. I think if I think about my early days, sort of with Bulldogs, probably similar to cricket in the sense of I do think a lot falls back to playing versus non-playing, and as hard as that is, it's when you're playing elite level sport or top level sport. At the end of the day, like not everyone gets picked. Like you don't like we have 30 on a list for 21 spots on game day. Like the math doesn't work. So unfortunately, like you have players that miss out. And I think if you can get to the stage of your career where like you're really consistent in your behaviours and you're really consistent in performance, then the selection piece becomes consistent. But then as you start to sort of, what I've experienced is obviously as you start to get a little bit older, your body starts to get sore and sore, or like that consistency piece becomes harder and harder the longer you're in the game. That's certainly how I've sort of found it. So I think, you know, a lot of my sort of mental health not mental health challenges, but like some of the challenges that you do face mentally, I've found is like particularly around sort of selection and what is success? Like what does success look like as an athlete? And some will say, you know, premierships, or some will play like everyone's got their different opinion on what success is.
Yeah, someone might be playing 100 games. For someone, it might be just getting picked.
100%. So everyone's sort of got something different. And that's probably what I've struggled with the most in my career is what is that when you're so hard on yourself and your expectations are so high.
And would you say that yours are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I live quite often in a world of failure, because it's like, well, what does success look like? I have to play every game every year. And it's like, well, how realistic is that? As you're getting older.
Yeah,
not.
You're probably setting yourself
I'm setting
up
myself
for failure.
all the time. And so that's probably something that I've struggled with a lot in my career is, and still to this day, like for me, like what is success this year? And I'm like, well, if I say it's to play every game this year, like I'm already probably setting myself up for failure as I'm coming into my 11th year at 32 years old. Like, so then does the season become a failure? So like that's probably something that I've sort of struggled with throughout my time of like, what is it? And not just like what success looks like, but like what can you get out of a year where you really can. I live in a world that I'm like I don't know what content is. Like it's always what's next. Like what's the next thing? Like, all right, if I play a game, well, if you play one game, like obviously you just have to play two. And it's like, well, what if you don't? Is that a complete failure?
Does that make that one game not worth it because
Correct.
you didn't get to the second
You
game?
didn't get to the second one. So that's probably something I've sort of struggled with a little bit is that high expectation pressure of, you know, being the most consistent footballer you can be while still living in a world where, you know, I am working outside of football and trying to, you know, juggle multiple things in your life and still be the best footballer that you can be, but also the best person or the best version of yourself that you can be. So, yeah, those pressures that come with playing elite sport and the pressures that we probably put on ourselves as like athletes is so high that sometimes they might be too high to achieve. And then that's when you start to, I think, battle with, well, like, am I worthy? Am I good enough to be here if I'm not doing everything? You know, that old mate over the road is playing every game. Does that make me not good enough to be here if somebody else is doing it better? So you kind of I think in sport, as much as you don't want to compare yourself to someone else, you kind of live in that world of comparing, particularly if like one's playing and one's not. It's like, well, how do I get to that stage where I'm playing every game because so-and-so is playing every game? And so you try not to sort of compare yourself and just be the best version of yourself you can be. But when ultimately we're here to play football, like that's our job. I want to play as many games as I can. I don't want to be that person that doesn't play games of football. That's what happened in my cricket career, right? Like you're there and you're trying to be the best version you can, but then ultimately you just want to play the sport because you love the sport.
Yeah,
and all you want to do is play.
Yeah, you talked about how you were a cricketer, but you weren't actually playing cricket.
Playing.
And now you're a footballer. You were obviously the goal is playing as much football as you possibly can.
Yeah, and so then you're trying to work out like how do you do that as consistently and for as long as possible. And obviously the longer you're in it, sometimes some people would say the longer you're in it, well, you should know because you've been in it forever. But the game of footy, women's football is just getting so much more competitive, so much stronger, so much quicker, so much more agile. Like everyone's just getting
And you're not getting younger.
I'm not getting any younger. Not getting any younger. And I wouldn't say I'm getting any fitter or agile or any of that sort of stuff. But you try and do the best that you can with what you've been given in life. And so, yeah, I think sort of some of those mental barriers just around expectation versus reality. What is realistic versus what is not. And that's probably something I've struggled with over my journey. And sometimes you're really content just like, well, I'm just going to play football and be the best person I can. And then there's that other person that's like, well, you should be just playing every game of football because that's your job. And sometimes that's not the most realistic sort of way of looking at it. So, yeah, I've probably struggled over my time a little bit around like sometimes I think like, have I had an okay career? Like sometimes I'd question whether it's been a good career or not. But then other people will be like, well, you've been in it for 11 years and you've done this and you've done that. And I'm like, yeah, but so what? Like if someone else has done it better or someone else has done it differently. So, yeah, sometimes you kind of live in a world of comparing yourself and, yeah, I'm not great at reflecting. I'm not great at remembering things. So I probably don't sit back and think about the things that I've done all that often. I probably won't do it until I've finished playing and then you actually sit down and go, oh, shit, like I gave a lot of my life to footy and look at all these amazing things that have sort of come out of it. And
100%. It sounds like you're doing probably a little bit too much comparing.
Yeah, and not enough reflecting potentially. And
that's probably something that we all do, right? Whether it's in
just life.
Elite sport or life and always looking at the neighbour over the fence and going, oh, they've got that and I don't have that yet, or that grass is greener over there, or I'll be happy when, or life will be successful
when this happens, or
exactly
if this happens, or when this happens, and it's like
rather than just being a little bit more in the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've sort of battled with over my career, and yeah, it's just sort of a part of my nature a little bit. It's part of the way I think my brain's wired is just sort of pushing yourself, but pushing yourself to the point where it's like then not fun or not successful or not enjoying it or whatever. So it's sort of that balance of like pushing yourself but also still living in the moment and enjoying, what it is that you have around you and who you have around you and being, super grateful for all the things that you have in your life and not sort of always looking too far forward to, well, what's next? So that's I probably battle a little bit with that sort of stuff at times.
Yeah, and appreciate you sharing it. And what do you do to help with that? Like when you are battling with it, and I can only probably make the assumption and imagine last year if you didn't play anywhere near as much as you were hoping to, that would have been one of those years where that sort of head noise was pretty loud and pretty constant.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you do, or was there sports psych, or what's the support that you then go and look for, and what are some of the strategies that you do try and implement? Because it's one thing to know that you struggle with it, but then what do you do when you are struggling with it? Yeah,
it's a good question. Yeah, obviously in footy we're very, very lucky to have amazing resources around us, being like club psychs. We've also, got the AFL Players Association that if you didn't sort of want to speak to someone within your own footy club, you've got sort of avenues to go and speak to somebody outside of footy if that's sort of the direction you want to go in. But yeah, sort of club psychs can be quite helpful. It doesn't just have to be about sport. It's not necessarily everything doesn't have to. Obviously, sport's a driver of it because it's our job. But linking things to outside of footy can also be pretty important. But yeah, I've sort of had over my journey had a few psychologists within sporting clubs and outside of sport that have just sort of helped, I guess, put in like strategies to think about. When you sort of go down those pathways of lots of what ifs or lots of comparing or should I have done this differently or, that sort of headspace of like how to pull yourself out of that and, be a little bit more present with what's in my control versus so like selection to a degree in any sport is, yes, there's a part of it that's in your control about being the best athlete you can be and the best, footballer I can be. But ultimately, selection comes down to it's not really in my control. So
you don't make the selection.
I don't make the decision.
You control the putting in 110% in the lead up.
Yep.
And then whatever they decide to do is out of your control.
So then I try and have like quite a realistic outlook on it, and sometimes too realistic. But it's just like, oh well, it is what it is. Like all I can do is just be me, keep showing up, keep doing the best that I can, and if or when your time's called to be selected, it's like, well, I'm as prepared as I'll ever be, because I've done all the work. And so yeah, I've been pretty lucky to have some good people in my life. I think like friends and family obviously play a role. Having your people that you can speak to, like open and honestly about what you're thinking, and like how to get out of certain situations, or spirals with thinking and going down a rabbit hole of you're the worst footballer ever versus, let's be a little bit more realistic about this. Like,
yeah.
we're not the worst footballer ever, but there's more to life as well than just sport. And I think like sport's probably taught me that a little bit as well. Like having jobs and stuff outside of sport, like it's amazing. It's not going to last forever. It's been an incredible journey, but there is life outside of footy as well, and that's sort of sometimes something that does excite me to a degree. Is like, well, I'm going to try and be the best footballer I can be for as long as I can, but at some stage the game's coming to an end, and looking forward to like what else. And that's what I mean around like trying not to push too far forward around what's next. But there's a world where like footy's not going to last forever, so what else am I going to do in my life? And some of that stuff I do really look forward to. When footy finishes, I can travel more. I can do things that you can't necessarily do while you're playing sport, and that's okay. So yeah, there's a world where I've had lots of people that have helped me sort of grow over time, and help me with if I do go down a spiral path of all these what ifs and what next, and constantly comparing yourself, or not thinking you're good enough, you're not worthy enough, all those sorts of things, and then trying to fight your way sort of out of those. But yeah, it's sort of a journey for me. Like I often ebb and flow with those thoughts, I reckon. And as you start to come towards the back end of your career and you're trying to work out, well, how long do I have left? Like those things probably start to rear their head up. And like you said, last year not playing as many games as you would have liked. Again, all that stuff sort of is real front of mind. And it's like, well, how do you just bring it back to being really simple and just doing the things that are well within your control, and not trying to think about things that are so far out of your control, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously then coaches and the team around the team plays a really big role in that as well, because like you said, there's a whole lot in selection that's out of your control, and then just doing your best. And one of your goals this year is to play as many games as you possibly can, even if the goal realistically isn't to play every game. So we're not setting ourselves up for failure from the get-go. What sort of directive and directions do the coaches give you? Because do they have sort of one-on-one conversations with everyone and try and work out what success or a plan for your year looks like for you to work towards?
Yeah, I think obviously every coach is slightly different, right? Like every coach has a different style or a different way of doing things or a different philosophy. So it probably just depends a little bit on like personality and the way they like to, I guess, deliver things. But like I've had a number of coaches over my journey, and they're all different. Like we're all naturally being people, we're all different and we do things differently and think differently. But I think one thing about this year that like I've really enjoyed, that we've got a new coach in Glenn Strawn who's come over from Melbourne, and he's been really, one thing I've like loved about him is like he's really clear on like, this is sort of the role I see you playing. This is what I think suits your best football. Don't get me wrong, there's 30 of us on a list and there's only 16 like spots on the field. So naturally you're going to be competing for some spots with someone who probably plays a role very similar to you, but that in itself is good. Like a bit of competitiveness within sport is healthy. And so,
and even like from a training point of view, if you know you've got to earn your spot every week and it's not just a given.
Yep.
That's got to be a good thing.
100%. That's sort of something that I've never taken for granted with footies. Like I've always sort of had that mindset of you got to earn your spot week in, week out. Like it's not just given to you. And so I do like that side of footy where it's like you are competing for a spot, and you've just got to keep working and being the best footballer you can and trying to keep challenging mates that are around you. So, yeah, I like Glenn's been really, really just not strong with his thoughts, but really clear on this is the role I see you playing. If you can execute it well, you go a really good good way of getting a game in my team if you can execute the role that I'm asking to and the style of footy that we're trying to do. And I like that. I don't love when you've got coaches who are like, you're really close. Like, you're really close to getting a game, like, or, you know, you've done nothing wrong, or
I'm obviously doing something wrong.
Well,
because I'm not getting a game.
Correct.
Or is everyone else just doing it better than me? And if that's the case, tell me what I need to do better.
Yeah, I don't like the fluff. I'm quite a like black and white person
Yeah.
at times. Like, I'm quite straight down the line. I don't like the fluffy. Just
don't give me a cuddle. Don't bullshit me. Just tell me.
Yeah, just tell. And I think that's where, like, athletes, because we live in a world of feedback all the time. Like, every week you get feedback on how you're going. Like, I need you to try and execute this better, or I need you to try and, you know, can you, whatever it might be. Like, I don't know, there's too many other careers out there that are constantly given feedback. So that's all we know. And if you've been in sport from a young age, like, you've just received feedback your whole life. And it's not bad. It's because they're trying to make you the best.
Yeah, it's constructive. It's not every week sitting down and going, so you were shit at this, and you were shit at that, and you were shit at this.
Yeah, correct. So, you know, more often than not, people are giving you feedback because they're trying to give you some piece of information that's going to help you. And you've got to have the mindset of looking at it like that. And so I think what I value the most in people is when they're really clear. There's no bullshit about it, and it's just like, at the end of the day, like with footy, like I said, there's 30 of us on a list and there's 21 spots. So unfortunately, there's going to be people that miss out. But let's be really clear with those people that do miss out on what it is that will get them back into, like, the team, versus you're really close, or, you know, we just got to keep working, or, you know, maybe next week, or all this stuff that is not anything tangible that you can actually go away and work on. It's like, you know, I need to see you, you know, be better at your ground balls or whatever it is. And, you know, if you run over a few, well, that's not being better, right? But you've got something tangible that you can go and physically work on.
Yeah.
Versus maybe next week. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, how do I work on maybe next week?
Yeah.
So I like when stuff's really specific and something that you can actually go and work on versus just airy-fairy, fluffy words that aren't really tangible.
And would he then be really clear with, say, your number 30 player on the list, saying, look, to be perfectly honest with you, at the moment, there's probably not a spot for you in the team, the way that everyone's training, but this year for you is about development. And then if this happens, or if you develop this, this, and this, or is it set up that everyone can earn themselves a game at any given week? Like, how clear cut does it get?
Yeah. I think in a world where like really good coaches would be really clear with all 30 players. And with AFLW, it's probably, again, slightly different to men. You've got 40 to 45 on your list. So, like, heaps of players. Whereas with W, unfortunately, with, like, you know, a few injuries or a few niggles or whatever, like,
everyone could be getting a game.
Everyone could be getting a game. And if you look across, like, the last few years, I reckon most teams would use nearly close to their whole list. So I think there's a world where it's like you need to be preparing to play your whole list. And I think men's clubs, depending on the kind of year they have, like, and how many injuries and stuff they have, they could go quite deep into their list. But I think in W, definitely, like, your 30th player is potentially still playing a chunk of footy, depending on how your year goes and the health of your list and all those sorts of things. So, yeah, I think really good coaches are really clear and constructive with their feedback, which allows a player to know exactly where they stand. There's no, or I might go have a conversation with a line coach or a development coach or whatever, and the messaging isn't consistent. I reckon that's one of the hardest things in sport, not just football, is like having consistent messaging. And I think that's, again, where you've got a really good tight-knit coaching group, that if I have a conversation with my head coach and then my midfield coach, that the messaging from both of them is really consistent and the same, and it's not two completely different things that you're like, so which one is it? Like, well, what am I working on? Is it this or is it this? And so, yeah, I think really good, strong coaching groups, well-connected, communicate really clearly, and have the same messaging.
And have you then found, as you've grown, developed, matured, spent more time in the game, that if you're not getting clear messaging, you now ask for it?
Yep. Yeah, I'm not afraid to ask. And that was something I did a lot last year. Like I sort of, when I wasn't playing, like I wasn't afraid to ask what is it that I need to be doing that I'm not doing. And for me, like a bit of it came down to we just want to play the younger players and get games into them, which is completely fine. Like doesn't suit me as an older player, but I understand the direction the club's going in. It doesn't necessarily suit me. That's fine. But I'm not afraid to ask questions to get clarity. I like clarity. Like I said, I'm a little bit black and white, so I need it to be like really simple or easy to follow. So yeah, I guess if there's any confusion or lack of understanding or whatever it might be, a little bit of grey, it's like, well, the only way that you can be really clear is go and ask questions and seek clarity. And that's sort of something that, I encourage sort of younger players is just to, keep asking questions. Sometimes people, again, depending on personality and style of coaching and stuff, like sometimes questions or too many questions can be maybe a little bit frustrating or whatever it is, but ultimately players ask questions because they want to be the best footballers they can and they want as much clarity on, all the things that they can do to be the best footballer. So I encourage people to ask questions. And sometimes it also comes down to the delivery of the way you're asking things or the way that you're having conversations with people can then sort of dictate a little bit around how the conversation goes. But ultimately people give feedback because they're trying to give you some piece of information that they think might be helpful for you. And then if you don't understand it, then, seeking some clarity and understanding to get as much information out of them that you need to help you go and execute is probably the next piece. So I don't think questions are a bad thing.
Oh, I totally agree. Questions are so powerful, so important, and as probably so many people here, like we don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
And unless you keep asking, you're not going to learn those things that we don't know. So it is so important and something that I think we should all do more of, but just without the unashamedly asking questions, but not taking offense when you're getting asked a question. It's, hey, I'm genuinely asking because I want to learn. I'm open to feedback.
Yeah.
Like asking from that constructive point of view. It's not asking because you're suggesting that, for instance, with the what am I doing or why aren't I getting picked? It's not saying I'm upset with you because you didn't pick me. I'm actually just wanting to learn and get the answer so that I can improve myself. I'm not having a crack at you for not picking me.
Yeah.
This isn't a personal question. This is just a constructive question.
Yeah, it's asking questions just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Versus asking them to, try and pick holes in somebody or make them, double back on their words or whatever it is. It's asking out of like curiosity to be better.
Yeah, just genuinely being curious.
Yeah.
And speaking of genuinely being curious, a couple of questions that I'm really looking forward to asking you, and we sort of ask these questions towards the end of every guest episode.
Yeah.
But I think you've got such a unique perspective and experience to bring to this because ask the questions, which is what's something that you do for you on a regular basis that helps you, right? And then there's what are the bad habits, right? What's anything? And everyone out there listening will be listening going, well, we're talking to a professional athlete, so disciplines there, commitments there, exercise, so many people that we ask on Flying Blind, well, what's something that that you're doing that doesn't help you? It's the drinking, it's the not exercising enough. Like these are all things that you do as part of your job and you have to do. So I'm really interested in asking you these two questions.
Yeah.
And I know from even a discipline point of view, I was going to actually start by asking who your best, who's been your best pre-season training partner that you've ever had?
Ever's a hard one. I'm not very good with memory, Benny, as I've just worked out.
In COVID?
Yeah, you obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
COVID was a tricky one, but we stuck together. Benny and I,
100%.
we did some gym workout, we did some running, we did a bit of everything.
You had me in the car down at the Oval.
Yeah, we did. You were just run next to me.
You were like,
it was
all right,
perfect.
I'll do some goal kicking, and you just stand behind the goals, and if you hear a ball, go and chase it and kick it back to me.
Nah, you were good. You were fine. We
can't believe I did an AFL pre-season program.
You pretty much did in lockdown.
Well, yeah,
we spent a lot of time together in lockdown.
The reason I say that is the discipline was there too. When it had
you
to
were very
be,
disciplined.
Oh, you
weren't afraid to get up early with me and run.
We had some freezing cold mornings
Kick the
down
dew
there.
off down at Yarrambat, early morning running session. So, we did well in COVID.
Yeah,
We made
100%.
use of the challenging time that we were facing.
Well, it helped that I was nowhere near as fit as you, so I was always just running behind your footsteps.
Yeah, but we made it work.
We
You
did.
pushed me, and I probably pushed you a little bit too. So,
Yeah, 100% you did.
It was a good combination. That we
So
had
yeah,
going.
I digress a little bit there, but
It's
I
okay,
suppose
we can
that
do
was the
that.
discipline I witnessed when small worlds. Amy and I ended up living next door to your parents, and in
Yep.
COVID, you were living there as well, and we ended up. You
Doing
needed a
heaps.
pre-season training
I needed
partner
a
because you
partner.
couldn't train with the team.
Yeah, I needed a partner in crime, and you were my man
Exactly.
living next door.
So what are you
Tick, tick.
doing these days on a regular basis that helps you or you need to do?
Again, it's probably something I struggle with at times, like getting that balance right between putting all your eggs into footy and putting your eggs into your career, and where's that little bit of life balance that's for you. I really like a massage. So that is something that I do often fall back on, where it's like an hour out of my day where I don't have to think about football and I don't have to think about work, and I can just switch off from the world. So something I do like to go and do is get a massage. But I'm probably not. But when footy and work are both on at their peak, I've got Sunday off. Like, it's my one day off, and then you're trying to meal prep and get ready for the weekend, have a life,
Yeah,
socialize,
exactly.
and do all these sorts of things. So when they're both at their peak, like it can be really hard. But they're only at their peak, or they only have that sort of crossover for a few months of the year. So for a lot of the other time, you're only sort of doing one or the other. So yeah, for those few months, it's a bit crazy, but I do love a massage.
Love that.
And
I think that a massage is a good one because it's something that basically anyone, or for you, like, you can just book in when you need it.
Yeah.
When you go, I haven't done that for a couple of weeks. I just need to allocate an hour,
Yeah.
and once it's locked in, you're committed, you're done,
Yeah.
and you go and do it.
The other one I would say would be Ollie, my dog. So we are so routine. I'm so routine based. I'm the most structured human you'll ever meet. I can tell you, any day of the week, at any time, exactly where I'll be and what I'll be doing, which is sometimes good and sometimes not so good. But Ollie, I think there's just a wonderful thing about animals. Doesn't have to be a dog, but just animals in general. It doesn't matter what sort of day you've had. They will love you no matter what. And
Excited when you come home.
they are
Wagging
excited.
the tail.
Yep, from the moment that you step foot in the door, they are just so happy to see you.
You've played a shit game of footy,
it
and you come
does
home, and
not
Ollie does
matter.
not care
Nah.
how you've played.
Couldn't care less. So yeah, I would say like having Ollie has like just been awesome. Because they do generally make you think, like, sometimes it doesn't matter what's happening in the world. Like, they just want to go for a walk or want some food or just want to sit on the couch and sit on your lap and have a cuddle. Like, it's just, doesn't matter what's happening. And so we have a bit of a ritual, or like a routine, I should say, of like, we go to the beach near on every single morning. The beach is both of our happy place. So yeah, when like the question of like, what do you do for you? The beach for me is just so calming, so relaxing. Doesn't matter whether it's dark and gloomy and looking like it's going to rain, or whether it's a beautiful sunny day. It's always changing, and it's always very peaceful. So I do love going to the beach, and I love starting my day off with the beach. So that's something that I know I've only done that since moving to Adelaide.
I was going to say, has
It's
that been
definitely-
something that
No.
Adelaide has presented to you as well?
100% it has. I've been sort of fortunate enough where Port Adelaide is relatively close to sort of like the beach. So lived in a couple of houses that are all, within a couple minutes from a beach. So that is certainly something that Adelaide has taught me, how that, at whatever stage I come back to Melbourne, how that works. We'll have to work out that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something about the beach that's just so calming and clearing, and it really is my happy place. It's his happy place too, so it's kind of the perfect match.
Yeah, love that. It's a great way to start a day. And then the other side of that question is, what do you sometimes do or fall into the trap of doing that doesn't help?
Yeah, doing too much at once. I think life gets busy, right? For everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do. Like, at times, life just gets busy, and sometimes it's so busy that you do forget just to take that second for yourself or just to stop and slow down for a minute. We
time.
all do it. We all do it at
we all
some
do it.
stage. It's part of being human. It's human nature.
But we sometimes wear busyness as a badge of honour these days.
Yeah,
Like,
because
you speak to someone and go, "Oh, what's been going on? Oh, I'm that busy. I passed myself going the other way, or this, that." It's like, hey, you don't have to be that busy. You're choosing to say yes to that many things, or maybe you need to choose to dial it down a little bit.
Yeah, ultimately it's a choice that we make, and people make different choices for various reasons because they have to work gazillion hours to put food on the table or whatever it might be. So yeah, everyone's got like their reasons. But yeah, I find myself at times burnt out, and that's from doing and I run the risk at this time of year when I'm trying to play footy, I'm travelling for footy, and I've got cricket happening in however many states, whatever it looks like. So this is the time of year where I'm very mindful of burnout, and again, very lucky that I've got an incredibly supportive workplace that gets it because they work in sport and they understand. So I'm super lucky that they can at any moment just be like, just take some time and just focus on one thing instead of having multiple things. So, that run the risk of burnout from just trying to fit in everything and trying to not please everybody that you have in your life, but trying to be the best version of yourself for everybody all at once can sometimes just be really hard.
Bloody oath it can.
And then you run the risk of doing all of it really poorly.
Yeah, because you're trying to do too much. Yeah.
So I definitely fall into the habit of that quite a lot because I like to be really busy. I don't sit still. I'm not someone who can often sit and watch a movie for 2 hours. I need to be productive. I like to be productive and feel like I'm doing something. But sometimes that's my downfall. Sometimes that's when I'm like, it's actually okay just to sit down for 2 hours and watch a movie.
But that's probably why the massage works so well for you, because it does force you to stop.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the phone's on flight mode, and I don't need to be. I just need to have an hour to myself where I'm like not thinking about any form of work or where I need to be in the next hour or what I'm doing. So, that burnout piece for me is something I probably go through it maybe once or twice a year, and that's like that reinforcement of like, all right, dial it back a little bit. Like you just got to, let something slow down for a little bit, recharge your batteries, and go again.
100%, and you've got that awareness, which I think obviously helps that. It obviously hasn't gotten to the point where you, your life in those periods is that busy that it probably is unavoidable in a sense, but it's about making sure that you can see it and you're aware of it when it does happen to go, right, now I need to put some things in place to change what's 100%. Going on here before it spirals out of control.
Yep,
and it has a bigger impact.
Mm-hmm.
Who sees the real you?
Well, I guess your family more than anything. My partner Ben, he probably sees most of it because like we just talk about, obviously the whole idea of having people in your life is to talk about things, right, and to be as vulnerable and as open as you can. So yeah, mum and dad probably see the bulk of it. Trying to think like close friends who and quite a few of my closer friends have probably come through sport, right? Because I've done that for the best part of all my life. So some of the people you spend most of your time with are people in sport. So they've probably been through it themselves. Or when you can talk really openly about like where you're at with sport or life, a lot of the times like they've maybe gone through it themselves and have come
there's
out
that
the other end.
relatability.
100%. So I've got a couple of really close friends who have sort of come through my sporting journey, who I talk to a fair bit, and one of my best mates, Molly Strano, who's still playing cricket. A lot of the things that we've sort of experienced at the same sort of time, which is so bizarre that like we once played cricket together and now I'm off playing footy and Mol's still playing cricket, but we're a similar age. So some of the things that we've experienced as we've gone through our sport has been so similar, albeit a different sport.
So parallel journeys in a way.
Literally parallel journeys to a degree. And so, yeah, sometimes people like that have been, really helpful. But, yeah, I've met so many people over my journey who have been sort of mentors or, close people that I can ring at any stage and just be like, oh, this is where I'm at with my life. What do you reckon? What should I do? Who should I speak to? What do you think's the right thing? And like, I like a good yarn. Like, I like to have a chat. So I don't mind talking to people, whether it be family or friends or people I've worked with or whoever it is.
Yeah, just talking it out.
And I think that's, sometimes in life we do get sort of bogged down with like not feeling like we can speak about things. But I think society as a whole is getting much better at allowing people to have a voice to be able to talk about, whether it be struggles in life or, jobs or work, like whatever the topic might be, like we're being able to speak about them with the people that we feel comfortable speaking about it, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got plenty of people in my life, family and friends that, probably leave the roller coaster that is sport. It can be a real roller coaster at times, and that's both ends. Like, it provides so many enjoyable highs, and then it can just be so brutal and relentless on the other end. And it's probably not too dissimilar to any job really, but sport certainly throws you plenty of curveballs, and it's how you kind of take them and run with them and try and change the direction of them for the better and learn along the way.
Absolutely it is. Love that. And I was going to say, what's the next one? I know what the next one is from a question point of view. I was about to say this will be a hard one for you because of the way in which you've already shared with us that you roll, and it's what are you most proud of?
Yeah, I don't know.
I knew this was going to be hard for you.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what am I most proud of, because sometimes I'd look at it and I'm like, I don't know, what have I done?
Plenty, mate. I'll sit here and list them off for you.
Nah, don't do that.
But it's true. It's much easier for people from the outside going, well, what about the best and fairest? What about the premiership? What about what was it, most courageous player? 2 years?
1 year.
1 year?
A few years ago, but yeah.
And there's sporting awards, but then there's a whole lot of stuff outside of sport as well. But sometimes it's easy from the outside looking in, but that doesn't mean that that's what you're most proud of.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really do a lot of reflecting, which is, probably not. I should. Maybe when the time's right. But yeah, what am I most proud of? I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm obviously proud of the footy career that I've had.
You should be.
Yeah, to be in it for like as long as I have, to see, the competition change and grow over a number of years is not everyone will have that. So, like someone coming into the competition now, what their journey for let's call it the next 10 years will look significantly different to what my journey was over 10 years. I think like footy certainly is something to be proud of. I think from like a study education piece, like I've worked relatively hard on like trying to grow myself and have some education behind me to help set me up for the future. So I've done now just this year. I finished my masters of business. So
that's awesome.
To have done a masters by 31 whilst playing, working, all that sort of stuff. Like, I feel like that's sort of something to be like relatively proud of. Done a few degrees.
Don't say relatively.
Done a few degrees over. I literally have studied my whole life. Like, that's what it sort of comes down to. And in saying that, I'll never study again. But
I was about to say, is this just a lifelong thing?
This is it. But no, like, to obviously study for, literally like the best part of all your life till very early 30s has taken a fair bit of effort. But I don't know any different. All I know is how to jam as much into my life as humanly possible. And sometimes you just need to take that break. But to do a fair bit of study and try and set myself up for the future is something that, I guess I can be proud of. Where the future takes me, time will tell. I've got some ideas on what I want to do and where I want to go post-football. But I guess this last sort of 10 to 15 years is about trying to set myself up for, whatever life does through post-footy career.
And speaking of which, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, well, obviously all I know is sport. So I do think that's where I want to work. I think the ultimate goal, or I think the job that would suit me well, and I'd hope to do a good job of, is like running a program, like a head of footy. But in saying that, doing that straight out of footy is probably not what I really want to do. I probably want to go and work, I think, maybe in a few other sports and like get out of the footy world. I will always work in footy, I think, because like it's ultimately what I love. But going and getting experience outside of football, I think, would be really helpful to bring back into football, just to sort of understand how other sports do things. There's a world where the job I'm currently doing at Kojo, like that, I can take that a few different directions as well. And being a producer of putting all the sort of the entertainment in stadium together is sort of something that does really intrigue me. And that's sort of something that I'm looking to pursue over while I'm still playing, and still sort of can pursue a career while playing footy. But yeah, I think like a head of footy, having the lived experience of playing and then sort of having the experience of like sports business in a working capacity. Yeah, there's a hope there that those two things will combine. And
I think you'll make it happen.
We'll see where it goes. But yeah, in between, like sort of now and then, I reckon there's a fair few things that I'd like to do in a sporting world to sort of set myself up for that job at whatever stage that comes. But yeah, hopefully learn a few things once footy's done, and I'd love to work in a few different sports. Like I worked for the World Cup a few years ago, the Cricket World Cup that came to Australia, and like that was incredible. So is there a world where like working in a few more World Cups, whether it be cricket, rugby, like the sport doesn't bother me. It's just the fact that it's sport, and like the amazing thing that sport does with bringing people together. So yeah, sport is obviously the ultimate goal. And
you'll be doing something in sport by the sounds of it.
Yeah. It's just I don't see myself not working in sport. So
well,
I don't think
it's consumed your life up until now, so you might
as
well
just keep going.
Yeah,
why not?
It's already working, and you've got it all planned out. But there's plenty of different options there as well, which is really cool. And I think on behalf of everyone listening, I want to say a huge thank you for being willing to come on, share not just your story, but I think the insights into a world that so many people see, like you said, from whether it's watching it in stadium, whether it's tuning in on the TV, listening to it, consuming it, but then having the experience from inside the four walls, as they say, of the goings on of being a professional athlete, but not just that, the whole winging it nature of being involved in a sport from its very foundation with AFLW Season 1, and how it's grown and how you've grown, and some of the experiences, the highs, the lows, and some of the stuff behind all that people don't see, and some of the things that you've learnt along the way. I think so many people listening will be able to take something away from. So, mate, really appreciate it.
Nah, too easy, Benny. Thank you for having me on. We've been trying to set this up for a little while, and I'm really glad that we've finally sat down and had the chat. So
we nearly did it when I was in Adelaide, and I'm glad we didn't, because we've had plenty of time to do it in a relaxed state when you don't have to be rocking up at training and time bound on your strict routine. I've got you on a day off.
I know, you've got me on a day off, and it's perfect timing. So you've done very well.
Beautiful.
But no, thanks for having me, mate. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. We really appreciate it. And for everyone out there listening, keep winging it.